Round like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Visit StogieGeeks.com/Debonaire for a list of retailers who carry Debonaire cigars. Buy some today and get a little more Debonaire.
That is awesome.
Is it good? You like it?
It's really good.
Hey, we're back.
Good job.
Welcome back, everyone, to our Debonaire Ideal segment for this evening. Celebration cigars. What cigar would you light up for a celebration? This was inspired by a photograph that I saw on Facebook of Robert Kraft, best owner in NFL history, of course, holding up a box of Padron cigars.
Yeah.
In celebration.
Great,
and I'm like,
great celebration.
Dude, like, not only do you run the best franchise and the greatest team in the world, but you also have good taste in cigars.
Yeah.
Like,
how can you win more?
If it was
It is literally impossible.
If it were Christoph, it'd be winning more.
If he had a nice, thank you, Paul.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
If he was smoking a Christoph, I would have. I'm coming, Elizabeth. I would have grabbed my chest and I would have dropped dead from joy.
It would have been a good month for Danny D in New England.
Oh my gosh!
It would have, guys, that would have been awesome.
We would have killed it. We would have killed it.
Should have sent him a couple of boxes before.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, see, Robert Kraft stopped taking my calls a couple of weeks ago. You know,
TB12
is
stopped.
He's very busy these days. Turns out I don't have a lot of inroads to billionaires.
I bet you TV probably doesn't smoke. He's in that like kale.
No, he doesn't
smoothie.
smoke.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't smoke. He's
no
just,
way.
You know, he's wearing up.
You think he lit up a celebratory cigar?
I don't
Probably
think so.
not.
He's the kind of guy that would put it in his mouth and be like, "I love cigars."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just not. Yeah, he loves Uggs.
What's wrong with Uggs?
There's nothing wrong with mugs. Mugs, man, Uggs. Nothing wrong with them.
No, enjoy the mug.
I have several pairs.
Uggs are very comfortable. They're very comfortable.
There's nothing wrong with mugs.
Joe, I feel like Joe has a hostile opinion on this.
Yeah, I do, but
it's Will.
You can't hate on Tomcat,
what's
baby.
not a microphone? I can't sip if you keep put it up there.
You got to learn to.
Hey, Joe, turns out the radio part is the most important part of the podcast, not the drinking. This isn't a podcast where the viewers get to watch you drink.
Someone get Joe a straw.
Wait a minute.
Straw.
Wait.
Another hot take by Jarrid Trudeau.
Piping hot. Turns out this podcast is about people listening to us.
Oh, Paul said show up here on Mondays and you can have some
smoke
drinks.
and
I was
drink,
like, I'm in. I didn't know.
Didn't take much.
That's part of it, Joe.
Oh, all right, my bad.
People do have to be able to hear us too, though.
Oh, okay.
There are other
Pardon?
people.
Can you hear me now?
Despite what we think, we're just sitting here having a good time.
Shout
People
out, Pardon.
listen.
Can you hear me now?
What? Yeah, we need that. It's like a classy straw. It's like all metal and stuff.
That's a stainless
Attaboy,
steel
Jojo.
straw.
It's already bent. Don't try and bend it anymore because it's metal.
You're so strong, Joe. Bend that straw.
Dude, I feel like I'm at one
You
of
know
those
what this drink could
places
use?
now.
You know, this drink could use maybe some nicely crushed blueberries.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be nice? Like some nice blueberries. Shout out.
It actually
out
It would be pretty good. Shout out blueberries.
Some muddled blueberries.
Huge blueberries.
I like it.
Blue ribbon.
I like the
the
straw.
blue ribbon cocktail would be with blueberries. I'm just saying.
That could be your
What do
new
I know?
cigar. Blue Ribbon Christoph.
The Christoph Blue Ribbon.
Christoph
I love that for a number of reasons. I love that. You have no idea how many reasons I love that.
It could be modeled after a Stogie Geeks drink. Awesome.
Modeled after, and people will be like, where'd the Blue Ribbon Christoph come from? And I'd be like,
Right,
well,
you have to come here to
there's
the
a
studio.
deeply personal story for where the Blue Ribbon Christoph came
Paul
from. And
has
then
to
there's
make it for
also
you.
the cocktails at Stogie Geeks, which are on point.
Oh, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Kudos.
Yes.
So what would you smoke as a celebratory cigar? We have our list.
I'd smoke the Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, the Blue Ribbon Christoph. What are you talking
Without
about?
question.
You heard it here first. Blue Ribbon Christoph coming out 2018.
Hashtag.
Yep, breaking news. Hashtag breaking news.
Hashtag breaking news. Hot
Blue
take.
Ribbon
It's not
Christoph.
fake news. This is totally not fake news.
Alternative
Not
news.
fake news. This is the realest news. There has never been more real news. The Blue Ribbon Christoph is coming to market.
So
Jarrid's
other
on
than the
fire.
Blue Ribbon Christoph,
I also lit myself on fire I'll get a new shirt. I have many shirts. They're the finest shirts.
Third-degree burns are okay.
I kind of think like I'm going to be sitting at my desk one day in 2018. I'm going to be like, oh, look, hey, Coop just posted there's a new Christoph out there. It's called the Blue Ribbon Christoph.
It's coming. It's coming.
And then
Coming to a retailer near you.
I'm going to remember episode 220.
Hailing all the way
Stogie
from
Geeks.
Australia, the Blue Ribbon Christoph on the way.
It sounds too
Australian
much-
broadleaf.
Get yours today.
It sounds
yours
too much
today.
like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about right now. Let's move on.
Celebration Cigars.
That segment's dead. Kill it. Kill it with fire.
This is a really cool straw. I can stand.
Joe forgot he's on a radio program.
I'm sorry.
Paul's crying, laughing. Dan's saying yeah every 45 seconds, I'm rambling
I'm
about
the flavor
Australian
of this
Blue
podcast.
Ribbon.
What's up, Dan?
Yeah, boy.
Thanks for showing up. Christoph Cigars, smoke them. We'll leave.
Did you guys smoke cigars during or after the Super Bowl?
Yes.
What did you smoke? Let's start there.
Me and Jarrid were basically
Jarrid and I.
Jarrid and I.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Riley would be upset if you said.
Bishop Hendricken, I'm sorry. You taught me better than this. I'm sorry.
Fine quality private Catholic
mhm.
education at its finest there, Dan.
That's right.
Anyway,
the
Jarrid and I.
Yes.
I went to
Where
the South, so I
basically-
know it's Jarrid and I.
Oh. I'm
There's
sorry.
some Rhode Island humor in there
Oh,
for you, for
Jesus.
those Rhode Island
I
listeners.
grew
It's
up
not
in
even-
Woonsocket, and I knew it was Jarrid and I. So.
I was too busy winning.
There's going to be all
know,
people
to
Googling,
work on my
what
grammar.
is Bishop Hendricken? What is the sound and where is Woonsocket?
Woonsocket is like the remember in the Lion King
No,
where they
it's
had the
the
elephant
armpit. We used to call it the
where they had
armpit of
the elephant graveyard where Simba was like, "What's that, Dad?" And he's like, "You must never go there."
Woonsocket.
That's Woonsocket. You should never
Woonsocket and then the
never
Central
go there.
Falls.
Yeah.
That's the other one.
Never go there.
In between winning 12 state championships, I did not take up grammar apparently. But no, me and Jarrid and I. Jarrid and I.
He was in high school for 12 years.
Yeah,
apparently.
best 12 years of my life.
Best 12 years.
Jarrid and I.
Playing sports, not going to English class.
Jarrid and I were next door at Havana, and basically it was just us and Todd over at Havana on the public side, and we were just like, man, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen for this to go our way, and it kept happening, and
Did the
I'll tell you
cigars
what,
get like better and better and better, and then?
Oh man, I think they were. Well, you kind of weren't enjoying it because you were like just feverishly smoking to take your mind off the crippling anxiety.
I think we smoked the Christoph Habano. You smoked Christoph Short Robusto Criollo,
which we don't make anymore. That's been discontinued for a while.
Old school, baby.
That's old school. That cigar was delicious. That was a great celebratory.
And then I think I finished off with a Christoph San Andreas, which was great. But
and then they won. And then they won. Something special when they won.
No, I left.
We went to bed.
Yeah, it was late.
I was very sleepy. I didn't go to bed. I was up till 4:30 in the morning. I was wired. I was wired and distracted.
We're like we
And so I
were
couldn't
talking
go
to
to
them
bed.
like, what do we do now? But I remember back in 2014, we had a private party. You were there too. We were over at Humidor in East Greenwich. And
we rented out.
40th, was it?
We rented
no,
out
not the
Humidor.
40th, not the Royal Rumble 40th birthday. But it was a good crowd, and I remember I lit up Liga Privada A. That was a celebratory stick for me. Oh, you know, as all of us know, A cigars celebratory size for weddings, whatever. But that was a good smoke. But
which is interesting, how it becomes a celebratory cigar for weddings specifically, because you like to think that in some celebratory situations, you kind of want to cut back on your smoking time so you can actually spend time if you're attending a celebration like a wedding. But us cigar smokers sometimes think the opposite.
Absolutely.
We're like, you know what?
Yeah.
If I can spend 2.5, 3 hours like outside of this event 'cause I have a cigar, that's a great excuse.
yeah,
So I had that on my list like for a different kind of celebration. Like I was more focused on the like post Super Bowl kind of celebration.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree, sometimes we get a little carried away as cigar smoke. Because the Debonaire A, since we're in Debonaire Ideal, if you've ever had that cigar is awesome, dude.
It looks gorgeous.
You're
I've
supposed to
never
get
had
me
the
some
chance to
samples.
smoke it.
I get it. Well, I'll bring
very
you one of
nice.
those too because I have a box of them. So I'll bring you one of those.
I like the Debonaire stuff.
Yeah,
I really
it's good
do.
stuff.
Yeah,
he makes good cigars.
I'll tell you what, I have a Davidoff Oro Blanco waiting for me up in Queensbury Cigar and Pipe where I used to work. I left it up there, but maybe I'll light it up when I go up there next week with you as a celebratory for the New England Patriots.
You know, I posted a meme to Facebook. It was something like, you know, some people wait for a special occasion to have a cigar. My special occasion is if I'm at my desk and there's a cigar close by.
That's a celebration.
That's a celebration for me.
Yeah,
You know,
I think the cigar is the celebration.
To be honest with you, it was kind of funny when Paul was giving us the notes for this. My first thought was every time I smoke a cigar is a celebration.
Yeah.
You know, and that was my first instinctual. But then I actually thought about, okay, where was I? And then when I compiled my list, I have actual different situations as to where I was to kind of articulate that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Padron is it's a standard celebration cigar
Absolutely.
for me.
Sure.
The Family
yeah,
Reserve
without
series.
question.
Yeah.
I mean,
Without
usually
question.
around like the
Unreal.
holiday time, I'm like, we're having a party, like a celebration. We're celebrating Christmas, so I celebrate by like buying a box of Padron cigars and smoking
It's a
them.
great celebration.
Probably in my office outside of the Christmas celebration, but I'm like, I'm going to celebrate the year, right? Because it's towards the end of the year. I'm going to celebrate the holidays with Padron cigars, and that's pretty much my staple in terms of because you really can't go wrong across that entire Family Reserve line in terms of having a great cigar.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I smoke a ton of 64 Diplomatico Maduros.
yes.
I love that size. I love that cigar. They
Great
make
smoke.
Listen, they make great stuff. What's the
like
point of
the
being in
pyramid.
this
I like the
business
pyramid.
if you don't enjoy other people's
I like the
stuff?
pyramid. From the 64, I like the pyramid. That's the one I'll do as a
Yeah, that's
celebratory
nice.
cigar. I like the pyramid a lot. That's a kind of a size that not many people talk about, except on the Stogie Geeks show. Because Stogie Stan is a huge fan of that size.
Yeah.
And I was like smoking. I bought a box. I'm like, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're really, really good.
I had a box. Yeah, no, they're all
Then
gone
you
at this
smoked the
point.
box.
Yeah, they're all gone at this point.
Yeah.
I smoked the whole box. Joe, why don't you go to your number one on your list? Mine was Padron.
number one, which is always a go-to, Monte Cristo number 2 Cuban.
There you go. Classic cigar.
I just, it's if you can get a real one, and have a chance to have that, it's just classic. It's to me, if you're gonna do a Cuban, that's the one that you need to seek out, for sure. And I've had a couple of those on occasion at pivotal points in my life, and it's one of those things. Even though every cigar I smoke stops me in my tracks, where I always take time out of this crazy world and relax and have a cigar for sure. But the Monte Cristo number 2 Cuban is my number one go-to celebratory cigar.
I find it depends on the year with that cigar.
Okay.
I think in recent times for me, although I haven't smoked some of the newer years, but there was like a period where I think right around they got number one. Around the time there was a number one cigar of the year a couple years ago. They kind of went through this weird phase.
Well,
Even
that-
before that, they went through a weird.
Yeah.
Like the older ones were better than some of the newer ones coming out, and they were kind of inconsistent for a while. Vintage Monte Cristo number 2 Cubans are where it's at.
Some of them,
Oh, man, yeah.
some of them have stopped me in my tracks, literally.
Yeah. They're kind of inconsistent.
Well, you
I
can
find.
smoke an entire box, and 10 of them will be like the best cigars you ever smoked, and the
Yes.
other 15 or 10 will be the worst cigars
Yeah.
you've ever smoked.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Being,
And it's not even construction. It's
No.
just, they just smoke different. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, being when we've had access to more Cubans in the late '90s when I owned a cigar shop, I've literally had a Monte Cristo number 2, and I remember being specifically in this place when you could smoke indoors. And I was on the deck, and I'm having it was probably vodka Red Bull at the time in the '90s, right? So Kettle One of Red Bull, and I remember going, okay, it's not the Kettle One. It's the Monte Cristo, and I was literally like, "Whoa!" And it's just one of those cigars. If you get a good one, it'll definitely
it's good.
stop time.
Absolutely.
It'll stop you in your tracks.
I had as my number 2 Opus X. We talked about it last week. We went through the whole history of Opus X. 2014 Patriots win. I smoked an Opus X Love Affair. Awesome cigar.
Yeah.
I remember
that
talking
cigar.
about this with you on the show before.
Oh, love that cigar. And really all Opus X cigars.
I still love the Oro Maduro.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Oro Oscuro.
Oro Escuro. Yeah, that was
That thing's
unbelievable.
awesome.
Yeah, I still
Did I
have
give
one.
you that one? Did I give you one of the
We
Revus-
smoked one, and
Yeah.
then I tried to buy. They had like the with all the different sizes, that collector's box
Yep.
up in somewhere in the middle of nowhere in New York, And I tried to buy the box, and he said, I'll sell you 2 of them. And I'm like, 2 boxes? And he's like, no, like 2 cigars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah.
You
So
still
I got
bought the 2
2.
cigars.
I got 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got 2.
I find the larger sizes in that box actually are really good.
Yes.
They're often the ones that are everyone gravitates toward the smaller sizes. Now I'm giving away my secrets, but the larger sizes in that
Yeah.
one, like there's a Reserve de Chateau size, like a 7x49 Churchill in there, and which Joe and I smoked last week, a vintage one of those, and
Those are nuts.
yeah, those are
2010.
good. 2010, yeah, we
Yeah.
smoked a 2010
Oh, yeah.
Reserve
Yeah,
de Chateau.
It was.
Even the Angel Share I love.
Angel Shale is great because it's
Yeah.
like an Opus, but it's not like that kicked up.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad
yeah.
to see that now in the 22 coffin boxes.
Yes.
It's a great smoke.
Yes.
And from a studio perspective, it lasted all 3 segments.
It did.
Of the, it was all 3 segments of the show.
That's nice, yeah.
Joe, you had number 2 on your list.
Number 2 on my list was the Padron 1964. Anything you can go.
Yeah.
It's just a go-to.
Yeah.
You know, if you know, you just can't dispute it. You know, it's a good.
It's a great smoke.
It's a good smoke. But for the Patriots win, I did. If I could kind of squeeze in
please
2
do.
here, for the Patriots win, I did the Arturo Fuente and Yeho.
Nice.
You know,
I love the 888.
You know, it was.
I haven't smoked one in a while.
Oh, man, I like that
Smoked when they
size.
first came out, and I really haven't gone back to them.
Try it, man. Get back into it. If you can find a Shark or something like that, or
yeah.
if you can find the 8. I love the 888. It's a great size.
I'm a Shark guy. I like the
I
Shark.
like the Shark too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like we're fewer and far between now with that Shark size.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people kind of
Scarce.
seek them out, and they're like, "Oh, it's not as good." And I'm like, "No, like different year." That's another one where different years
Absolutely.
make a difference, big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what. We used to work for up in Queensbury Cigar and Pipe. Brian, who's general manager at Queensbury Cigar and Pipe, he had a box of Sharks from 2006, and he gave one to me as a gift last year, and that's just smoked beautifully. It was a great cigar.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking at one on your list. Our 3 are kind of the same, Joe. Really any vintage Cuban cigar is a celebratory cigar for me. I've had the privilege of smoking, quite a few over the years. One that comes to mind that they don't make anymore is the San Cristobal de la Habana La Punta, which is this little bellicoso. That's called La Punta.
Punta.
It's a little.
It's a little one.
It's a bellicoso.
Yeah.
Awesome cigar. Love
Yeah.
that cigar.
I've
Mark
never
Jr., who was on the show before, had a bunch of them and gave me some. And I'm like, dude, that is like the best Cuban cigar I think you've ever had. And I went and bought it. It's interesting. The ones he gave me were aged, vintage. I went out and bought a new box. And like I smoked through the whole box. I'm like, dude, those were like almost equally as good as the vintage ones you gave me. I'm like, I can't stop smoking these. Like I'm totally addicted.
Yeah.
And now they don't make that damn size anymore. You can't find them
man.
anywhere.
Like
Well,
a
I'm
petite
sure if
bellicoso, or
you could call it a petite bellicoso,
but not ultra short, like a little.
yeah, not ultra short, like maybe
Not like a Monte
5,
Cristo.
like a 5. Yeah,
Yeah, like the Monte Cristo number 2, the petite bellies are
really
really
yeah.
small. They're really short. They're like 3 inches or something like
So this is like a 5 by something.
Yeah.
Awesome cigar. Is there really any? I mean, I know I've had some vintage Cohiba that's been awesome. I've had a lot of vintage. Probably my most vivid memory, and this wasn't any kind of celebration. My friend that's been collecting Cuban cigars forever, that I work with in computer security, he had this Sancho Panza from like 1999. And I was like, oh my God, dude, that's like one of the best cigars I've ever smoked. I bought a box of Sancho Panza Bellicosos, and I smoked them like right out of the box. I'm like, wow, that sucks. And I go back like every year and smoke one. I'm like, oh, that's a little better. That's a little better.
Yeah.
That's a little better. So like I think I just gotta
That's
wait
the
like
worst.
10 years before it reaches that level.
Yeah, that's the worst. When you find something that you really like, but it has age on it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And you're like, I just want to like it now.
Yeah.
like I just
No, that's
I just
one
want to
where-
be into it now.
That's one that is getting better. Also, non-Cuban, San Cristobal, the Dominican, Ashton, San Cristobal. Did I say that right? No. Elegancia. I'm sorry. It's the
Elegancia,
Elegancia Churchill. I smoked one, and it was so awesome. I bought a box, and I'm like, that's so not like the one that I smoked. I smoked a pre-release sample. And now, maybe 8 years later, I'm like, oh, these are good now. Like, this is what I remember. I'm like, these are awesome now. Now I've only got like 5 left. I'm like, damn it. So, back to you, Joe. You have is this a Cuban, Hoya de Monterrey?
The Jarrid de Monterey double Corona.
That's a great Cuban cigar. I'm glad you reminded me of that. I had some vintage ones of these. They were awesome.
It's funny. We had a story with a guy when we owned the shop. This guy was he just collected. He traveled a lot. You know, every shop has what I call lingerers. They become like the face of the shop. And this guy kept
lingerers.
They always linger around the shop.
Yeah.
You know? And
You mean customers? Is that what you're referring to? We have all these loiterers trying to conduct business in my store.
Spend money.
People come here, they buy
Exchange
cigars, and
goods
they
for
smoke
services.
them.
He kept these things in his wine cellar, and I love wine. And I remember going to this guy's house, and he had an actual cellar, a wine cellar in his basement with a humidor, and he had boxes of these Jarrid de Monterey, and he was willing to let some go, and the shop bought a bunch of them. You know, it was a great.
Is that legal? You know what? I'm not going to go.
Why?
She was like, why? This was awesome.
No, we didn't sell them. We bought them for personal.
Oh, personal use.
Yeah, we didn't
Personal
buy them and put them on the shelf. We bought them and did a.
You bought them and smoked them.
Yeah, and it was just. I remember it being amazing. And then when I tried to find it and seek it out again, it just wasn't. It wasn't there.
It had to have age.
So it's that same thing. It has to have that age. And me personally, I'm not patient enough to have age on anything. You know what I mean? Because every single cigar and every single day is the day. You know, so it's one of those things where you always do chase that. You know, and I haven't had a one like that in a while. And this is going back to 2001. So it's been a while. But if you ever get a chance to try one, buy two, age one.
I think Cuban cigars are more like wine in that respect.
Yeah,
certain years are better than others, and it's better with age.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because every single Cuban cigar that comes out of the factory is sold before it even leaves.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their sales exceed their production ability, so they rush everything, and then bang, it gets to your hand. And a lot of times, like I had somebody ask me the other day, I was doing a tasting in Athens, Georgia, at a place called 5 Point Cigar Shop, which is really, really cool shop in Athens. And I was doing a tasting, and my thing with the 3 different cigars with different wrappers, but same binder and filler. And we're talking about cigars, and we were talking for almost 2.5 hours. And I had a guy that asked me, he's like, so how long should you have to age a cigar when you get it? And I'm like, well, you shouldn't have to do that at all.
Right.
I'm like, if you have to age a cigar, if you smell a cigar or you look at a cigar and it seems like it's ammoniated, that means the cigar didn't get processed properly and wasn't fermented properly and wasn't aged properly. You should never receive a cigar and then have to age it. The only cigars that I've ever bought that I've had to age were Cuban cigars because they get in, they get rolled, they get put in boxes, they get cellared, and then they get shipped out. And it's like
Do they get cellared? They don't get cellared.
No, not usually. No, I mean like the overwrap on the box.
Oh yeah, the box gets cellared.
Yeah. So once it gets to, I've had to age those because I've smelled it and I've been like, oh shit, this is a little ammoniated. I need to age this a little bit longer.
Smells like a cat litter box usually.
Something like that. Yeah. So once you get that kind of vibe from it, you have to age it. But when you get a cigar, we should do the whole work for you. Your job should, as a consumer, your job should be to smoke it. Yeah. That's it. That's all we need you to do.
I only had 4 on my list. For some reason, I come up with 5. I like the Lido Gomez small batch series. I think that's a great celebration cigar. I think it's really a great size. I think the whole line is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you could probably go factory press here, but I don't know. I like the Lido Gomez. Typically in a celebration, like after a game or post something, you want something with a little punch to it. This definitely hits the mark.
Those are great cigars.
And even, have you smoked the small batch 6?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Oh man,
fabulous.
Yeah. I smoke. I like the chisels. Just even the little chiselitos.
Yeah.
I really like that size for some reason. I really dig their cigars. I think they do a good job. The small batches are killer though.
You had you had one more on your list, Joe, that I really like.
Davidoff. Millennium.
We haven't talked about Millennium.
You know,
They cut
Dan's
back.
got me into Davidoff ever since I went up to upstate New York.
But Millennium's a different
Dan's
Davidoff offering.
You know, it's like you got to try this, and I started getting
got
into
some
that
body.
line, and
It's a
I
great
haven't,
cigar.
I haven't
You
smoked
know.
that in a long time. They cut way back on their sizes.
Yeah, you know what? I've liked the Millennium Blend for a long time.
Me too.
I think it's one of their underrated blends in their portfolio. It's one of those things when you look at Davidoff and they're like, oh, most of our stuff's mild. Go smoke a Millennium Blend and you'll really see
Not
that
mild.
they do a lot of different stuff. And
That's another one. The year matters on that
yes,
cigar.
absolutely. And
I had access to buy singles for $20 a stick from a vintage Millennium box. I think it was from 2004, 2006, or maybe even sooner. And those were some of the best cigars I ever smoked in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd go buy new Davidoff Millennium Robustos, and I'm like, well, that's not even close to what I smoked. I'm like, what was up with that one that I bought for 20 bucks? I'd pay $20 all damn day long for that cigar. Because that was like unbelievable. It really.
That's a great series.
Yeah.
And that's really un-Davidoffly. You know, when you
Absolutely.
smoke it, it's like totally not the character.
Another one's
that
kind of
you expect.
inconsistent because I've had Toros that were some were just spectacular.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Pyramide.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
The Lonsdale is good.
Yeah, I
They
don't
used to
think the
make a
Lonsdale's.
Lancero?
Yeah, I don't think the Lonsdale's even around anymore.
They made a Lonsdale and a Lancero in the Millennium line. They were both good.
Yep, absolutely. No, the Millennium Blend's a really world-class stick, but
Davidoff,
people forget about it.
Davidoff has like discontinued more cigars than a lot of other companies have put out.
Oh, my God,
They were
yeah.
like of unbelievable quality, and you find them at
Pure
retailers,
Oro's
and you're like,
gone.
oh
Yeah.
my god, these are so awesome.
Demand.
Yeah.
It goes back to
They're a
business.
business.
Yeah,
They're a business.
Yeah.
That-
you
They
know?
are not
that's
afraid to cut them.
Nope.
line.
Absolutely not.
That's a powerful methodology you can use in business. If you have a good amount of demand for your product, because then it creates brand loyalty. When like you got to bring these back, you got to bring these back, you got to bring these back, and you know it's an excellent business move.
Yeah.
By Davidoff for sure.
Great. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a break, come back, and talk about our Stogies of the week.